I mean, you're technically, I guess you just have to.
It's kind of like acting director.
Did you see the opening game? Did you see the opening tip-off? Sydney did tip-off. It came down on the guy's foot and rolled back.
She may have to call in. I mean, I don't know.
I did see that. I did see it. Yeah. Where's David?
Insane. Okay. Where'd she go? I don't know.
Yeah, I see your note. Can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You gotta lower it. There's a side on the button, sit on there, the side goes lever.
Oh, yeah.
But you gotta sit on it first.
Soft chair. Well, they're great. These are great chairs.
We moved all the candy, so if you need candy, okay, all right.
Chocolate, Snickers, what do you
You said
want?
don't have that much, because otherwise we're. You can stop there, we're not-
I'm not eating chocolate. I like the mint just because. But other than that. I just want to I just feel like when you go to
Are we ready?
Yes.
Call the meeting to order. And we'll have the pledge of allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, I would like to have a minute of silence for Mayor Charles Leon. Okay, our prayer will be given Reverend.
And I wanted to say one thing about Charles. He and I became quite close over the past several years. And you know as good as anyone that he wasn't about his own personal preferences. He loved Port Aransas and wanted what's best for Port Aransas. So I just want to encourage you guys to continue that theme. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for your love for us. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of a beautiful town like Port Aransas. Lord, I pray for our city council that you would guide them, that you would direct them. And Father, we know that Charles is with you. So Father, we pray for Sherry and his family. We ask that you would give them comfort and peace. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
Now we'll have citizens' comments. Scott?
Good afternoon. Can you just say
Say your
condolences?
name and
Scott Ems Report, 8H Buggies. My condolences to Mayor Billon's family as well, both his humanitarian life as well as his civil service life. So obviously he's gonna be well missed in the community, and you know, living right next to Charlie's pasture kind of has a little remnants there. So again, good evening. I just wanted to make a couple quick comments. Obviously, spring break starts in about 20 days. Yes, Miss Holt, 20 days. So that being, I am obviously one of the evil golf cart guys. I thought maybe both council and there's Mr. Burrows there. I know in years past, we have rules and regulations that are on paper. Customers interpret them a lot of different ways. But I can tell you, insurance costs for everybody that owns a business in all our personal lives, auto, motorcycle, whatever, insurance costs are rising. If you talk to the golf cart insurance people, there's only 3 companies that will insure a fleet golf cart person. One of them, Lloyd's a lender, can't afford Lloyd's a lender. I am telling you, golf cart insurance is going up. They will tell you from the Florida to South Padre Island, Port Aransas is the most toxic golf cart community on earth. More accidents happen in Port Aransas than the rest of the Gulf Coast combined. That's a pretty big statement coming from an adjuster or an executive in an insurance company. I have a fleet of golf carts that cost me in excess of $100,000. Obviously, I'm in business and I make money, but the point being is it's continuing to rise. I would think that the stance that we need to take from day one, being spring break or March 1, whatever you want to call it, that Scott and his team they really look at every customer differently and say, hey, I know you didn't mean to do this, but go with God and don't get a ticket. I think we need to reverse that thinking and say, look, when you rented the golf cart company told you the rules and regs. This little sticker, whether it's square or round, is on 99%. I mean, they do come off, but I think if you went and audited all the 12 to 1,500 golf carts that are rented, roughly 1,500 at 23 different facilities here and now, I think you get a 99% compliance. We should just say no to being liberal about golf cart infractions. If they're on Highway 361, if they're underage, if they're drinking and driving, I just think we should start the year out being a hardcore aggressive. By the time we get to May 1 or June 1, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you want to call it's going to tell people, hey, 4 days pretty serious this year. We can't let our kids drive. We can't, you know, when they're the only golf cart on Highway 361, they know they don't belong there, right? It's the only one that Scott and his team or crossing into Pirates Bay, Paradise Point, Pirates Bay, the Hampton. I can tell you, customer calls me or emails me and tells me, hey, I'm staying at the Hampton. I said, ma'am, I can't help you. But Silver Sand said they would, or another one, you know, I'm making that up arbitrarily. It should be the same for everybody. Not that I care that Silver Sand's breaking the law, but
Okay,
it makes me look bad.
thank you.
So I think we should just start off with giving Scott some orders saying, hey, maybe we just take a zero tolerance this year and clamp it down.
Thank you.
All right.
Luke Daly. And everybody remember you have 3 minutes. Appreciate it. Luke Daly, 619 East Avenue D. Got 3 things I want to talk about, maybe 4. First, Parks and Open Space. I hope, and I attended one of the conferences or one of the meetings, and I hope we will make our city and our parks bike friendly. One of these concerns, Charlie's Pasture. If you try to ride a bike out to Charlie's Pasture, you're either on a narrow road, which probably should be wider when you redo Charlie's Pasture, or you're in the mud. And of course, you better not ride on the bulkhead or you're going to be in the drink. Then the second thing is, and I think the rest of the town needs to be bike friendly too. And that means stop closing your alleyways, just so some people can have more use of public property. And I think that when somebody requests that they close an alleyway, they should pay the taxes on it. Then the gas distribution, I had the markings of where the different lines are at my property. And I think that if they're gonna redo the gas lines, which I think is a great thing, the major gas lines, that they need to mark it so people aren't doing some kind of landscaping project that will be destroyed when they replace the main gas lines, because at least on our property, it was really wild where the gas lines ran. It like ran way up into the property. And then finally, it hasn't been well reported, but the EPA is now going to look over any desalination permits from TCEQ. They found that TCEQ was incorrect and mislabeled the Harbor Island desalination permit as a minor facility instead of a major facility, which now kicks it into EPA territory. And I wish we would get a good report on this, because this will affect all the desalination projects that are proposed all over this estuary area. And there's a new wrinkle with the big red messes that are left from Reynolds aluminum. If any of you have ever flown in to Corpus Christi, you may have seen huge ponds of red muck. And it looks like those may have gotten washed out during Hurricane Harvey, which would put mercury into the Copano Bay and other areas. Thank Thank you. Sure. Brian. Degenhardt.
How y'all doing? My name's Brian Degenhardt. I live at 326 East Cotter, I'm a 10-year resident. I'm also a 23-year veteran and the third largest police department in the nation. Watch 200 men, special operations. Do that so you can see I'm a bit of an expert in law enforcement. I read something in the paper recently that's disturbing enough for me to get off my butt and come to City Hall here to speak to y'all. There's plenty of targets. There's plenty of things going wrong. I know, but that man right there is not one of them. He's a sound man. He's got good character. He's level-headed, and he's gone 10 years without having any scandals. Scandal-free department is unheard of, especially in this small town. So I'm not speaking to anyone in particular, but I was embarrassed. It's embarrassing to the city of Port Aransas. It's certainly embarrassing to him. All we have as police officers are a reputation, and he's built a sound one for his long career. And if you have some evidence of something, by all means, there's three things you can do. You go to the district attorney, you go to the Texas Rangers, you go to the FBI. Those are the three places you go with evidence. But there's no, provide good police protection for the city. We handle situations with hundreds of thousands of people carefully and without any incidents, as far as I know. We volunteered for the thing where you give the food to police during spring break and such. So that's my only relationship with him. I have no relationship with him. I don't know him personally. I look at it from an outsider in as a law enforcement officer. What he provides to you is very difficult to find, especially in a town of this size. So make sure he's happy, and you should thank him, not openly criticizing him. We'll switch gears for a second, and now another issue I learned recently that right behind my property, 326 East Cotter, the building where one home sat, 3 monstrosity 35-foot tall buildings that were permitted on July 23rd of last year. I had no idea. I was never notified about an open hearing. You think I'd be more impacted by it? You think somebody would let me know, knock on my door, send me a certified letter or something? I got nothing. Now, as opposed to one home behind me where I'm raising my family, I will have 12 cars, up to 48 people, and 3 gigantic buildings. And just this past month, or just this past week, I learned that they're going to be building 3 pools there too, which I think affects the drainage of the place. As such, I asked the city council to listen to my wife in a minute. We'll talk about that with that. So thank you for the time. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. And Laura Dagenhart.
You already introduced me. Laura Dagenhart, 326 East Cotter. I'm here to address the 3 tall buildings that are being built at White Street, at 329 White Street. I'm asking the city council for help in dealing with City Hall in this. All 3 of these houses are putting in 13 by 24 swimming pools. 2 houses that are directly behind mine have their pools directly on the property line. This was brought to my attention when Paradise Pool workers were drilling into my fence. When they inquired what they were doing, we were met with belligerence and guttural response. After this, we called the inspector. My husband and I, as well as some of our neighbors, reached out to code officials and did not receive answers. Specifically, how are these pools being built, approved, and right up to the property lines? My understanding is that there are zoning requirements or setbacks specific to property lines. I came in today and looked at the plans, and the original plans for these houses did not have pools in these original plans. They just were permitted last month, the end of the month, of the 20-something. When and where and how these plans were changed, I'd like to know. I'm also concerned about the stormwater runoff from these properties. I believe that the planning process is supposed to ensure development of property does not adversely affect the stormwater management of the city. Doesn't the development of the properties downtown require developers to show in their plans in sufficient detail to ensure compliance to the city's stormwater drainage master plan? I've tried unsuccessfully to address these issues with the City Hall management and have essentially been dismissed. I'm here tonight to ask you to specifically direct the buildings officer to show us that this development is in compliance with all applicable codes and ordinances now. We don't want to find out after construction that this development is out of compliance and have an 11th Street situation. Common sense dictates that these issues should be addressed before costly construction and potential litigation. I was asked for my new survey and my drainage plan. I am not the one changing anything. My home was built and is on the same land since 1926. I just think that attention now avoids a lot of problems, and that's what I was trying to do, but I'm not getting answers. There's no transparency. I don't know who you see to get the answers that you need as opposed to deflection. You know, my home will flood from what it looks like they're doing, and they're building up. There's these pools that weren't in the plans earlier from what I saw, but who do I ask about this? And if things were changed, don't they require, because now they're taking up a whole different area. But in any case, you get the gist of it. Thank you. I hope you can help me out here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Since you can't have a dialogue, I spent about 45 minutes with the Degenhardt. They're on site with the builder, so I'll be happy to discuss this with you offline if you'd like the answers. But I did spend about 45 minutes out there with all the parties yesterday.
Okay. There's no more comments. We will now have an executive session.
I think the executive session is about me. Is it not?
Right, it is.
I would prefer that it be public. We've had two that were private and closed, so.
Okay, this will be an open session then to discuss personnel, to deliberate continued employment and evaluation of a public officer and employee, in this case, the city attorney. Yes.
Mike, we think you've done a great job with everything. There's nothing personal. It's not anything. We just want to go, I'm speaking for myself. I want to go in a different direction. We change city councils, mayors every 6 years, and you have been here for 42 years and you've done a great job. But I would just like to see us move on and change. That's just my opinion. If anybody else has anything to say.
I tend to agree. Mike, personally, nothing against you, your service. But just,
Well, no.
just like anything else, it's,
Speaking to the,
just like anything else, it's just different direction, time for a change.
I have a question, so do you have another lawyer in mind? Are we gonna be without legal representation if it's not good tonight? We don't have to what? Not have legal representation or?
No, what you just asked me. I have looked at a couple different law firms that do the same thing as Mr. Morris's law firm. They're
We'd still
very-
have to put out an RFQ for that.
I don't think we do.
For professional services?
I don't think we have to.
You can't do it tonight. You know, it's not
No,
on
I'm
your
not asking
agenda.
you to do it tonight. Yeah, that's right.
well, I'd like to say, I think Michael's done a great job.
I never
He's
said that.
worked very hard for us. We tried to that lawsuit against the port. He brought in all the expert lawyers that we needed, pulled them all together so we could fight that. He also in the lawsuit that we had, was able to bring in the right people, handle that lawsuit against our city and city manager and the mayor. And I think it's really important that somebody that knows this, that can do all this work and can bring in the right expertise to handle it is right. I mean, he doesn't do it all himself. He brings in other people. Robert Brown, who's just been great, helping us with a lot of city issues. And I don't know, I know about that, but Dave, how does he help you? I mean, what do you do?
I mean, I use them probably daily. You know, whether it's a phone call, an email, I have 160 plus employees. I have a lot of employee issues. We have suits. We have legislative issues. Every time we write an ordinance, it goes to Mike. I mean, it's a weekly, daily communication with him. And it's important that I
have someone who's available to the city. I mean, my fear is, who are you guys looking at? I mean, there's only about 4 municipal attorneys in Corpus. I mean, some cities use Austin. That's just bad news. I mean, you go up to these Austin firms that represent 30, 40 cities, and they may have a team of 6 lawyers, but you're not getting a response as quick as you need it. You're going to get passed down to some, oh, we're going to put you through to Michelle today. And then 2 days later, you got Bill. I mean, you need someone who is going to be Johnny on the spot. It's going to get back with you. And that's exactly what Mike has done. I mean, if I called Mike the other day, I had forgotten he was skiing in Colorado. Guess what? I got a call within about 10 minutes. What are you doing? I'm like, oh, dadgummit, I forgot. You're skiing. He's like, yeah, what's up? I mean, that's the kind of response I get. I mean, he is, and Joan, you kind of hit the nail on the head. We've had a variety of issues everywhere, from personal lawsuits to fighting with the port. And Mike has put together a great team that's led the city to a lot of victories. And I don't see us getting better service from anyone. I think if anything, the service is you're gonna drop.
Well, I just think we need to clarify that Mr. Morris is the face of his legal team, and I say it, but me as a city council person has dealt more with Fred Drelling than I have with Mr. Morris. And I mean, no offense to you, Mr. Drelling is an excellent attorney. And I told you before, I'm not a big fan of attorneys. It's, like a necessary evil, but it's one thing that it's modern day society, but we have a pretty badass team, and I hate to do the thing, but I just hate to see it all go. And I realized, maybe they have an issue with you, but you represent a legal firm that I think has given us sound advice.
And I'd also like to chime in on this not using the RFQ system. I've never seen that in 17 years.
It's the home rule charter.
It's, I know it exists, but I've never seen a council not say, hey, let's go out and seek the best we can get, instead of you guys cancel. I'm finished. Instead of hand picking, I mean, we should use the RFQ process.
There's statutes that are passed by legislative bodies every other year. The statute concerning RFQs, it supersedes whatever your charter may say. It supersedes whatever your ordinances may say. And you never know when the legislature is going to pass something, but I want y'all to know, I mean, I have done this for 42 years, and I really feel honored to have had the opportunity to be given that back when I was 30 something. So 32. Now I'm 74, and I want you to know that I feel very honored to have been able to have been given the opportunity to represent this city. And today, I can be fired without any reason, without any cause, even if I've done nothing wrong. And that's been the way it is. It's called term of just, I don't know.
At will.
At will term.
That's why there's no contract paid on there.
I never asked for a contract. I never wanted a contract. The contract is just this. I want to work for you, and if you want me to work for you, then we're okay. But if either one of us says no anymore in the future, that's the way it is. So I'm not here to bemoan the fact that I'm up for consideration, termination. I don't want to think of myself as being terminated. I'd rather say job ending. But it's the same. It's the same with that.
If something, what would we do in the interim if you contact the attorney on a regular basis? How long would it take? Do you think an RFQ, and how long? And what would you do in the interim?
In the interim, we wouldn't have legal representation.
So what we could do is we could put an end date of 30 days out from.
Or 60.
Well,
Or
I-
60.
He was talking about statutory that pursue the charter. Are you aware of any that are
I just can't cite it as we speak. I wasn't aware this was gonna be brought up, but, we can do that tomorrow.
Yeah, I think putting out an RFQ, and then getting a good response and making a selection, you're probably looking at 2 months. You're probably looking at approving it in April.
If there's nothing that supersedes the charter says council shall appoint.
Yes.
You know, and so unless you can cite where it says something.
Well, we would,
what
we
does
would
that have to
only
do
know
with
it's
anything?
competent if we put out an RFQ and let it.
I mean,
So you're saying an interim, attorney can't give you any legal advice?
no, well, you can't hire an interim tonight.
No, but we could.
There's plenty of attorneys.
No, I know you could. I mean, you'd have to call a special meeting.
Okay.
I think it's ridiculous.
Well,
I
why
mean,
wouldn't
you can't even give a
Yes.
reason why you're wanting to get rid of them. I mean, change of direction, that's the
Change the
weakest,
direction of the
that is
business.
In what
the
direction
weakest,
do you want, are we going?
that is absolutely
We want to
ludicrous.
go in that direction. Are we not
I
doing?
Well, my question is, so if the law says thou shalt not, and you,
Give a reason.
I mean, I guess.
Change of
here's-
direction,
here's-
what's
here's
this,
my-
right
here's
out
my
of
problem.
Hollywood.
I guess if I saw Mr. Morris, if getting rid of Mr. Morris is going to change something in the city, then maybe, but I think that you're gonna get someone else who can take a spot, and you can do the exact same advice, exact thing, you're like, well, I thought we were changing direction. But the law says what the law is, and he tells you what the law says, and you make that decision, and I think that somebody else in the seats can tell you the exact same thing. So if they're telling you no to something, the next guy can tell you no too. I don't think that that's gonna change. I don't think that's gonna be different than what you're hearing now.
I agree with that. That's,
That's fair.
that's
So,
fair.
but I don't understand then why,
Why change?
I don't understand. You do?
Well, I guess I would like to say if we vote to change that we would keep Michael until we get another attorney. Keep them on. And that we have to do an RFQ as far as I'm concerned, because we want to know who qualifies. And there's lots of attorneys, sure, but who qualifies as a city, attorney and can give us the information, and is a big enough firm and
Well, I
all
think we're
those
also,
sorts of things.
we're also looking like other attorneys, but what is the cost? We haven't talked about, I don't know, you may not be the cheapest, but you may not be the most expensive, and somebody else may be more or less expensive.
We sometimes call it a discounted rate because it's always been discounted from what we normally charge.
But we wonder about others. If they do.
Oh, I don't know. They might. You never know. We're doing it for $200 an hour, I believe, and normal rates are $275, $300 an hour for commercial clients, and that's just pretty much a market rate. Some go higher.
I'd personally be concerned about having no legal representation for,
That's what John said, that,
that's, I'm just highlighting that she's, for an indefinite period of time. I don't know how long it will take. I mean, we may be able to, and I think we can secure an attorney reasonably quick, but I would be concerned about not having any legal representation.
I think 60 days is where.
I think 60 days. Well, what is your?
I guess I want to make a motion to, I don't want to say terminate either.
Go ahead and say it. That's in the. in the
Mr.
contract,
Morris
too.
and the, I guess, the office of
See you, John.
the city attorney. And, we'll give it 60 days to look for another attorney.
And would we do an RFQ?
if we have to do an RFQ.
Well, why not? Why wouldn't
That's
we?
required by law.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Why
When
wouldn't
it's
you want
required by
to look
law,
at the
I don't
base?
understand why
That's
you wouldn't
fine.
go
So
out and see.
My original thought was to hire interim to move in and help, and then, so we could search for another legal attorney.
And I
Why
think if
wouldn't
we
you
do
just-
an RFQ, let's just do it.
Would you be okay to stay on for 60 days?
Yeah, that's up to Mike also.
Of course.
I mean, this is,
Yeah, I know.
And there's no way on- I mean,
I really, well,
there's no way animosity against it.
well, you don't have to have animosity. Obviously, I am at will, and that means I can be fired without any reason, just to change the direction, whatever that means. I don't know if I'm willing to do that. I mean, I might prefer just to go skiing for 60
There you
days.
go.
You know, snow skiing while there's still snow on the ground in Colorado, as opposed to that.
I second the motion.
and are we going to add to the motion anything to instruct the city manager to put an RFQ out? Does that need to be part of the motion?
Yep, to instruct the city manager to put a RFQ out for, city attorney.
And that should happen, go out as quickly as possible.
Well, I still don't know why we're doing that. It just doesn't make any sense. We can have a discussion now. Seconded, and then, do you have anything else to say?
No, I agree, it's crazy, but you know, it is what it is.
And everybody's sure they want to do this.
Well,
We're ready to vote. It's about to vote.
Yeah. Okay, call the roll.
Chairperson Holt,
No.
Councilmember Seelow,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
No.
Councilmember Cricket,
Yes.
Councilmember Mott,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
motion carried.
Well, Michael goes again. That's fine. I don't know what Dave's gonna do.
Well,
Any ideas?
Nobody to the city for the next 60 days, please.
You guys figure it out.
yeah, I don't know. I'll get to David later. Let him know.
Okay, thank you.
Um, Have the consent agenda.
Ma'am, I would like to remove items, for the G and C.
Okay, items B and C removed from the consent agenda. So we have ordinance A, third and final reading, amending the code of ordinances, chapter 10, health and sanitation, article 4, noise, section 1057, other noise nuisances enumerated, providing for severance, reading, penalty, and effective date. D, a resolution ordering a joint general election and establishing procedures for said election to be held on Saturday, May 7th, 2022. The general election shall be for the purpose of electing a mayor and 3 council members to fill positions 2, 4, and 6. Providing other matters relating to the general election and authorizing the city secretary to enter into joint election agreements with other local political subdivisions. And I don't think I'll read this Spanish.
So did you say you removed B and C?
Yeah,
Removed from
he
the
wants to
consent agenda.
discuss them.
They
Oh,
become
okay,
separate items.
okay,
So A, D, are the consent.
I got you.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Chairperson Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Park,
Yes.
Councilmember Mott,
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Seelow,
Yes.
motion carried.
Okay, we'll then discuss ordinance B. B, the ordinance second reading amending chapter 2 administration, article 9 finance, by providing general housekeeping to said article by deleting article in its entirety, amending chapter 2 administration, article 8 airport advisory board by providing general housekeeping by amending reserved sections, adding new article 9 Old Town Preservation Advisory Board to establish board, set term, memberships, duty, rules, and regulations, and providing for a severance, reading, penalty, and effective date. Is there discussion on this?
just that I can't elect the board until I know what their duties are gonna be. I just think that you're making a whole new separate government with too much power until we find what they're gonna be.
The board doesn't have any power because
Well, we're gonna give them a zoning, they're gonna have a whole zoning area that they can make
Right.
zoning
I
for.
understand, but.
And so you're gonna
Still the
basically
final
take,
say. I mean, they can't make that, they can make recommendations.
well, according to that, says they have the option to change zoning in that section.
Right, but
So they're like, you're basically making a separate planning and zoning committee. And it
No.
seems like, well, that's what it says, that's what I read in the last deal, so I think until we define their powers better, I can't support it.
And so, because of where it is put, is that what makes it something different than an airport advisory board?
Well, it says they actually have a zoning, they're gonna make a zoning map, and then they're gonna pick zoning ordinances.
It's
for that
the
zoning.
overlay map that's already been.
So that doesn't make
at
it,
one time.
for example, we're gonna make a CZ2 committee or CZ committee, and that CZ committee is gonna have its own board, and they're gonna pick the rules and the zoning they want to enforce in that.
Well, is there some wording that would change it so that it would be
I
acceptable?
think if we,
Well, it would have to go to P and Z by law.
Right.
right, but I just think that, so the,
Doesn't the CZ two zone, it stays in place, I mean,
Yeah.
any of that, we don't touch anything with
Yeah.
CZ two.
no, I'm saying that's just an example of, this is the same type of board. And I just think, until I know what their,
It's not just the board for the overlays, I mean, it's a board just to talk about discussions, you know. the hotel.
I'm
Preserving old town.
sure, I just,
I mean, it's not historic, but it's preservation.
well, I guess my thing is when you talk about preserving Old Town, are you saying like, we're not gonna tear anything down?
No.
Or is it like, we're gonna come back with a new idea for how we're gonna save Old Town, or does it feel like, I mean, I guess there's too much unknown and I'm just creating this big,
It's just to preserve the history and the historic houses in buildings that are in there, which aren't a ton of. It's just, people want to do that. They have the right to do that. It's not gonna affect everybody. Like, we're not gonna tell everybody you have to build it this way or paint your house pink or, it's the boards or.
Well, you don't know what this advisory board.
I mean, the thing is,
Yeah,
that's
I
what
mean,
you think is, but we have to legislate for the worst case scenario. And that is, and unfortunately, that is, we have to look at it as, you get a board on there and they're gonna say, you know what, we're gonna say that you can't build anything, everything has to stay the way it is.
David, anything that comes out of this board would have to go to P and Z,
Yes.
correct? And then anything out of P and Z would have to come to council.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I understand your concerns, Bruce, and that's why I voted no against this last time, was the wording is very difficult to get my head around the way it was put in. I fully agree with the concept of trying to get a group of people to identify and preserve old town. So
Or suggest some
Yes.
preservation. and
Right.
then, yeah,
Yes.
that's all they can do.
that's exactly right. And that's why if that's the intent and that's what the wording would be, and everything has to, as Dave just said, go through P and Z city council, I think that provides protections that you're concerned with.
Sure. I still don't have wording, but you know what, that's what we vote for.
Yeah. I'll make a motion that we approve it.
Councilmember Clark,
No,
Councilmember Scott,
Yes.
Jefferson Holt,
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Mott,
Yes.
Councilmember Park,
Yes.
motion carried.
And I guess C was because
it was changing.
of changing the other one, if that changes them.
Correct.
C can be, accepted, so they like to make a motion on that. Ordinance second reading, amending chapter 2 administration by adding new article X10, finance, and providing for a severance reading penalty and effective date.
I'll make a motion to accept that as written.
Councilmember Park,
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
No,
Jefferson Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Mott,
Yes.
Councilmember
Yes.
motion carried.
Now we're at 7. Items for consideration. Presentation from Howard and Associates on the Parks and Open Space Master Planning Process.
Yeah, that's fine.
Joan, if it's okay, if we could move the manifest off right now. You was here to do the presentation. It's the next one down. It's
Move F in front of E, Joan.
Is that okay with everybody?
Sure. It's fine.
I mean, Leroy's not gonna take that one. I'm fine. Okay, all right, that's fine. Continue on.
I think half stuff.
Okay, all right.
Just let me know when you're ready for me, either way.
Hey, everybody. So on the line with us tonight is Half and Associates, who you selected for the Open Space and Parks Master Planning process, and they kicked that off. And so they're starting to collect stakeholder input. They have an advisory board assembled, and they've started to collect surveys from residents within the community. And so Kimberly Miller is leading the team. She's in Port Aransas. They did a site visit and an assessment and met with folks here. We've also launched requests for survey results. So I have these postcards here if you'd like to take them to your businesses or pick them up from me here. I've got them for you. I can leave them at the table by the door, but I won't give away too much more information. Kimberly is on the screen there and will tell us a little bit more about the process.
All right. So you guys caught me actually updating your survey results because they're coming in faster than I can count. So the question that I'm going to show you on survey results is really going to be more of an example than a representation of where we are right now. But let me go through a few slides with you and leave some time open for questions for you all if you'd like as well. Are you able to hear me and see me okay?
Yes, we can.
I see myself on the screen. That's a little bit eerie. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share a PowerPoint for you guys. And this is really kind of just meant to help us guide the conversation and not to spend too terribly much time focused on that. All right, so like I said, I was updating figures as we speak, but I'm going to go back to our original slide and get started. So thank you guys so much for making some time to welcome me from Half Associates and your Parks Planning team this evening. And we're really enjoying the process of getting to know your parks, and Colleen and David and all your council so far. Our stakeholders meeting that we had a couple weeks ago was the intro and kind of kickoff to our process. And thanks to all of you who participated, as well as those of you who participated in the Parks Planning Advisory Committee. So on the screen is a snapshot of the team that's helping you prepare the plan, myself and Matt Buchin, who leads our planning practice for the entire firm. Lane and Raul and myself were down at the last meeting. We're going to bring Maddie along with us next time. And so we're all working in different aspects of looking at your parks, what your needs are and what your visions are for the future. This is just to give you an introduction to us, so you see some of the other parks plans that we've worked on that are in fairly similar cities, similar sizes. San Marcos is probably the biggest of these. But the way that we like to approach parks planning is to really look at the assets that you have, update things that you might have really enjoyed when they first came about, but to help you think of your parks in a more comprehensive way and develop a vision for the future. And that's what we've done with all these communities and what we're looking forward to doing with Port Aransas with your help. So tonight, I'm just going to go through an overview of what a Parks Master Plan is, the timeline that we're working on, and we're working on a really fast timeline. The opportunities there are for public engagement, and like I said, the original survey results that we're looking at, and we'll have updated as time goes on. And then leave a little time for you to ask some thoughts and provide some strategic direction. So we were out in Roberts Park doing our first Parks Plan Advisory Committee. And again, thanks to you all who were part of that Parks Planning Advisory Committee meeting. We were looking that day, that first day that we were on the ground at the park conditions, you know, how things are looking right now, what state of repair everything's in, if you have any damage to your natural areas as well as to your facilities and structures. And if things are in great shape, we want to record that too. We'll be down in March 4th and 5th for 2 on-the-ground public engagement opportunities, including a Friday night open house and a planting day that Colleen's arranging on Saturday. The other thing that's part of a Parks Master Plan is developing those preliminary goals and then identifying the needs that you have for the future. When we come to the end of the project, we'll have some recommendations for action that are developed by the citizens of Port Aransas, because this is your plan, it's not our plan. And so we really depend on you to be the ones who guide us through identifying what you really hope to see in the future. And then it concludes with recommendations for plan review and adoption to get it part of your active long-range planning for how you're going to invest in the city. So this is to give you a timeline snapshot. As I said, we're working on a pretty accelerated basis. We often do like year-long projects for parks planning, but we're really excited to be able to hit the ground running. The public engagement that we talked about that happened first was focused on that, getting to know everyone, getting to know leaders within the parks community, getting to know stakeholders that had a particular interest or expertise, from the natural resources to the business communities and the neighborhoods that use your parks. So our purpose of the public open house, we hope all of you will come, is to engage the public and get a broader perspective on what parks needs are and what parks visions are for the future, and to start getting ourselves to the point of developing goals. So with phase 3, we'll kind of be back at the drawing board and really looking at what we've learned from you all and doing the assessment of the parks and leading ourselves towards a point in summer and in September where we'll be ready to give you a draft plan for the city's review with recommendations for action, leading towards a implementation, well, actually adoption probably in September and October. So as I said, we started with maybe 20 surveys or so at the end of the weekend. And so now we have over 150 responses to the Parks Plan survey. So I'm guessing that a lot of you are responsible for part of that number. But this was a way to gauge what people's current understanding of the parks were, what they prioritize, what's missing for them, and how parks can be improved, including looking at some investment strategies for the future. So as these results come in, we'll be able to report these out to give you a fuller picture of what your community is saying about parks in the future. And we're getting a lot of really great responses and a lot of compliments for your parks as well. I've spoken a little bit about this, so I won't take too long, but there's a Parks Plan Advisory Committee that's going to accompany us through the whole program to keep us honest and make sure that we are looking at Port Aransas priorities first, and not something that, you know, we've learned through the course of our expertise in the park planning world. We really are planning this around what's important to you. The listening sessions were important to that. Tonight is the introduction to the city council. And as I mentioned, community open house is going to happen on March 4th in the evening, come and go. And that's going to be in the community center. So we're going to set it up as an event where it's very family friendly. So we're bringing some toys and favors for the kids so parents can bring their kids. We'll also have a design station. So one of the things we're really excited about is the landscape architect on our team is going to be there to help workshop the development of some conceptual designs for both Roberts Point Park and Community Park. And you can come and participate in a planning design session if you'll come and join us at the public open house meeting. So not only can you vote on what you like about parks, but you can also contribute to potential design. So, and then on Saturday, the Parks Day of Service will allow us to do some improvements on the ground and get the community engaged in volunteer opportunities at Roberts Point Park. That's enough of you listening to me talk. I'd really like to hear some of the things that you'd like me to hear in this council meeting, and then any questions that you have or thoughts that are really your own priorities that we can begin integrating into our process for the plan. So first, do you have any questions for me that I haven't written on this slide? And if people have the time, I'd really love to hear if there's anyone who hasn't told us yet what some of your goals and priorities for the Parks Master Planning process are.
was at one of the meetings, the first meetings I met with you, and everything I stated still stands.
Sorry, I missed that.
This is Tim Park, and I was.
Yes.
So everything I stated at that meeting still stands.
Okay, terrific.
Darlene, you have any comments?
I think you have a nice cross section of ideas on there, the adult physical activity, and I think wasn't number one the water feature?
Yeah, I was wondering what that was.
Like a splash pad. But nice job. How many respondents? I missed that maybe, or did you say so far? How many?
So we, with some help from Parks Department, really accelerated the process of pulling in responses. And so I think we're at 150 right now.
Very nice. Decent representative.
And one of the other things that, oh, I'm sorry, I can only hear you guys a little bit, so I'm gonna be quiet and let you talk.
I was just bragging, we just got the postcards today, so we expect a lot more survey results. This is just preliminary snapshot for you tonight.
And one of the things that Councilman Parks, you had suggested that we do is design a postcard that would have a QR code on it. So businesses like yours could put the code by your cash register and encourage people to take a snapshot and participate in their survey. So thank you for that suggestion. I think it'll get us even more responses. And thanks for sharing it.
So just a quick question, for a town of our size, about how many respondents do you expect?
We're hoping for at least, I'd love to see as many as 400. If we can get over 200, I think that's a good response. Yeah, you guys are doing great. And like Colleen was saying, they're coordinating with getting the word out to school children as well. And so I think in addition to the postcards that are being printed, plus the ones that are going to be sent home with kids, I think your response rate is going to get over that 250 pretty easily. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That was a very nice presentation.
Well, certainly appreciated your participation in the original events too. So thanks so much. And see you in March.
Okay, look forward to it. Bye-bye. Okay, now. Discuss and take action on special events permit request from Texas Sandfest to conduct the 2022 Sandfest on Port Aransas Beach between markers 9 and 15 or Avenue G and Access Road 1A, beginning April 2nd through the 14th for sand and festival site preparation, and April 15th through the 21st for the festival dates. Leroy.
Thank y'all. To the ladies and gentlemen here on the council, I appreciate your time. Texas Sandfest is hard at work getting ready to have our normal April Texas Sandfest event. With all the issues last year, we had to roll Sandfest back to October, and
Seems like we just did it.
as y'all are aware, we had a great Sandfest. And we're thinking that it may even be better than back to the normal spring days.
Maybe
for
not so windy,
Sandfest.
I don't know.
If y'all have any questions for me, I'd try my best to answer them for you. The permit is what we have to get the council's approval to move forward with the city and getting things rolling. So that being said, thank you for your consideration.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, call the roll. Is there any discussion? No. I say call the roll.
Abstain.
Councilmember Mott,
Yes.
Councilmember Krieger,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Seeloff,
Yes.
Chairperson Holmes,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right. Good luck.
Thank y'all very much. Anyone have any questions for us? I appreciate it.
I just want to give the reason why I abstained, because I am on the board.
Yes.
Clarify. So.
I thought you didn't want to vote.
No. That's why I wanted to clarify that. So
He's quitting.
I'm quitting.
So we're on G. resolution awarding request for proposal, RFP, for the gas distribution system, FEMA project number P3141 to Equus Energy Service LLC in the amount of $22,409,916. Funds from the Hurricane Harvey account number 999, authorizing future budget amendments for fiscal year 21 and 22 budget, and authorizing the city manager to act as executive officer and authorized representative of the city in all matters pertaining to said bid award.
Good evening once again. Of course, this is one of those projects that we've just about finished up the high pressure gas system. We're planning on having a ribbon cut and a groundbreaking for the distribution, if you approve the award of this contract. As you saw, there was 3 bids. The low bidder was Equix, which was 22 million. The high bid was 41 million.
So just out of curiosity, we had a lot more at pre-bid. Didn't we have like, what?
Well, you gotta remember, pre-bid, you might have people there that are gonna be suppliers,
Oh.
that are gonna be the subs that are sitting there trying to get brownie points.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're all in the crowd too, so.
And council, I'd like to mention Mr. Jerry Eckert with Berman Engineering. He's like, he's been operating immensely, this is almost 70 miles of distribution system going to every house and every line and everything. He's done just a phenomenal job for the city in urban engineering.
So do we know where all the lines are now?
Oh, yes, they did a survey. Hey, we don't, we'll call Jerry.
We're not looking forward to it. It's gonna be our landscape.
During any concerns, that's quite a large spread, 22 to 40 million. I mean,
No,
concerns-
Equix, as a matter of fact, they were the low bidder for the high pressure, so they already mobilized. So that kind of makes up for some of the disparity between the bids.
And I think it, yeah, I think they have a good idea of what the ground's like. And so that really gives them an advantage of knowing where the water table is, what they're drilling through.
They've been here a year working with the same people. So.
I just don't want to get you in the city.
Oh, no. We're not gonna have that. That makes me
You're showing your age, Dave.
Well, I wouldn't say I can't, but they're good now. So, yeah.
And I have to stand up here every month. Y'all will be looking at me.
Right? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. Price second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Krieger.
Yes.
Councilmember Mott.
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Zenoff.
Yes.
Hubertson Holt.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, must be the next one.
We'll stay up here for a few minutes.
I, awarding request for proposal, RFP, for the Phase 1 South Trail, North Loop Trail, and Leonardville Turnbull Boardwalk FEMA project number 36926 SR Trident, Inc., in the amount of $4,994,554.
Oh,
Skip
jump on.
we skipped H, Joan.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, forget everything I said.
Okay.
All right.
Awarding request for proposal for the Phase 2 Charlie's Pasture Shoreline Bulkhead Repairs, FEMA project number 46842 to Shirley and Sons Construction Company in the amount of $6,342,381. Funds from the Hurricane Harvey account. Okay.
As you can see, we had 4 bids. I think that was included in your package. Shirley and Son was your apparent low bidder. We worked with Shirley and Son, they're the one that put in the Phase 1 of the temporary bulkhead and close off the gap. The bids were rarely, fairly close, 6 million to 9 million disparity. So we feel comfortable with Shirley and Son. Now, there is one portion to this. We have roughly $500,000 in full funds as mitigation funds to raise the bulkhead 4 feet. We have a short deficit of about $200,000 because the full portion came in at $799. However, we got to call in with TDM, let them know that we have a shortfall in funds, and we're working with those guys to see if we can get that other $200,000 catch. But I want to let y'all know that up front.
So we might be on the line for 200 grand.
Okay, so that'd be the worst case scenario then.
Worst case scenario is it would be another $200,000 on the city for to raise the bulkhead.
So,
Let's go get the money.
so Dave, this is question for you.
Yeah.
So the 200,000. That come out general?
That's why I was just looking at
Or on
Darwin.
time. Or that's what I- on time.
You're asking him, she said.
No.
No, I didn't realize we had that.
I mean, if you don't know an answer right now, that's fine, but I would.
We'd
like
have to run the tracks on that. I think that since it is probably in the nature preserve drawing, I think it could come out of context. I think we could get a photo into the special, because I believe in the new, about 2 years ago, it's post Harvey, we redrew the lines for what is considered in the nature preserve, and we included the birding center and different things. And I believe that would fall into that, so I believe.
Yeah, that's just a horizontal fishing pier.
So of course it is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Scott,
Yes.
Haverson Holt,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Krieger,
Yes.
Councilmember Mott,
Yes.
Councilmember Park,
Yes.
motion carried.
Not gonna go to South Trail.
You were all excited about that one, Joe.
Awarding request for proposal for phase one, South Trail, North Loop Trail, and Leonaville Turnsville Boardwalk, FEMA project 36926, SR Trident Inc. in the amount of $4,994,554.72. Funds from the Hurricane Harvey account 999.
Once again, in your package, you can see we had 4 bidders. Trident was the low bidder. The disparity between the bids was relatively small, 4.9 to 6.9. So we recommend an award to Trident.
David,
I'd like to commend Mr. Anthony Allen here with Urban. He'd been out there and walked through the nation preserve on numerous occasions, making sure that Urban and the engineer had all the quantities correctly and they matched up with the FEMA numbers.
I just want to clarify, in the background information, it does, the very last line says, the city engineer, Brodus, and staff received each bid, recommend awarding bid to Shirley and Son Construction.
Oh,
They
where's
were-
that one?
They were, that was under background information on the first page.
Oh, okay.
And they were a bidder on there, but it also says that Trident was lowest and this one recommended, just want to make sure that was.
Yeah, that's a
Clear and
typo.
not a,
Thank you.
and not a.
Yeah.
And this is the project.
Yeah,
that's
it's SR
timed
Trident.
right
Sorry.
on.
Yes, so we're gonna get started on this and working on the contract, Anthony is, so we get started the 1st of April, we're gonna be finished by October.
Right.
Yeah, the resolution is. Resolution's correct. Yeah.
A second?
I'll second.
Okay, call
Councilmember
the roll.
Krieger,
Yes.
Councilmember Mott,
Yes.
Councilmember Park,
Yes.
Councilmember Clark,
Yes.
Councilmember Scott,
Yes.
Haverson Holt,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. J is a resolution awarding request for proposal fee for the city hall restroom and kitchen renovations. Funds from facility fund account number 115, capital outlay account number 66320, and authorizing the city manager to act as executive officer and authorizing representative of the city in all matters pertaining to said bid award.
Did we get any?
Oh, where's,
Yeah, we didn't get anything. Yeah, I know the bid was awarded today, but we
The
didn't
bid
get
is
anything.
up today too, and I thought you did
So
second
what I'd like
call.
to do is, since we have not had time to look the bids over, to postpone this till the next meeting.
May I make a quick comment on that?
Yes, ma'am.
We had one bid.
Oh,
Yeah.
So, I have printed this up.
so is there, why do we only have one bid?
Well, we had 4 come to the pre-bid, and then 2 of them called me this week and said that there was a big bid in Rockport, so they couldn't bid this one. That was Teal, and another one called yesterday and said they had a big bid for the city of Corpus at the same time. So that's why they didn't submit. And the one bid we did get was Barcom Construction, which has done plenty of work in Port Aransas, and I think the city's had a good relationship with
So,
them.
just out of curiosity then, is there bid within the range of what you all anticipated to be, higher, lower?
The bid is lower than what I had anticipated. It's still high, but for the current
Right, building costs. and stuff.
building cost right now, it is.
yeah, so the project is, so there's 2 projects. It's the complete remodel of the kitchen in the Civic Center. And then the complete remodels of both bathrooms and the entrance areas outside of the bathrooms, but not the foyers. So that's the project.
So what, specifically what's gonna happen?
So in the kitchen, they're going to remove all the millwork. They're going to replace, well, the city's providing the kitchen equipment specifically that Marcom is working with, but the millwork, there's gonna be a lot of electrical work, lighting's getting removed from above the hoods. Plumbing's being replaced, tile, new millwork, making it AD accessible, you know, your current ice machine's right in the way, so that's getting relocated. And so you're replacing also your big cooler.
So that is a piece of equipment.
That is a piece of the equipment.
All right, that's gonna be replaced.
That's correct. And then in the bathrooms, completely gutted, floor to ceiling, lighting, fixtures, everything in the hallways as well.
Walls, toilets, yeah.
Correct.
What is that dollar amount?
So the bids came in, so the kitchen has a base bid, we had two alternates, I'll explain this. The base bid was $138,000. Alternate one is to replace the kitchen flooring, currently it's a Saltillo tile, to replace it all with a quarry tile is $24,250
On top of that.
on top of that. Alternate bid two is to replace all the electrical panels that are in the wall there, you've seen them in pretty poor shape. Yeah, and that was for $14,500. And then the restrooms base bids, which I call the restrooms, that includes the hallways, drinking fountains, everything, that's $213,400. So the base bid total combined is $351,400. The bid total with the alternates is $390,150. And 120 days for construction time.
And it is hot tax. Yeah.
Are we okay with just single bidder day on this?
Yes, because it's not a FEMA project or a state project.
When you say hallway, exactly what's the extent of that then? Where does it end and begin, I guess?
Correct. So where you see the white tile outside of both hallways, those are the hallways. So this area right here between the blue carpet and the Saltillo, that whole area.
This area.
And on the other side, where your drinking fountains are, to the doors into City Hall. So that hallway outside the men's restrooms.
So
Motion to approve.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I agree with that. Motion to approve with.
Yeah, all of it.
Okay, all of it, yeah.
Yeah, motion to approve all, sorry.
Just want to make clarify.
Yeah, with the added.
So when you say all of it, the electrical and the
Yes,
obviously,
with,
we're gonna
yeah.
we're gonna do the
It'd be a shame to redo the whole kitchen and then leave those ugly buttons.
That's what I wanted to.
Yeah.
But it's all of them.
I will second if that's.
Yes.
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 Thanks, Emily.
Thank you. Okay. Accepting the 2021 racial profiling report for the City of Port Aransas Police Department and directing the police chief submit the annual report to the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement.
The evening council, every state or every police department in the state of Texas is required to compile a racial profile report each year, submit it to the T-Cole, examining the traffic stops from the previous years, looking at searches, citations, warnings, and looking for evidence of racial discrimination based on those stops. Our annual report. We did not find evidence of racial discrimination. Do y'all have any specific questions you want to discuss, or how do you want to go into it?
No, I do have a question. I just want to make sure on table 8, which is page 12 of your report. It says PC, I'm assuming that's for probable cause.
Yes.
Okay.
And technically, the plain view that goes along with that is also a probable cause search. You can have plain view to the probable cause. It's just the way the state ones are broken down.
That's fine. And you said that your conclusion was that the data is set too small to actually draw a conclusion?
No.
I thought that's what I read. The data does not support the conclusion for instance for racial profiles.
Yeah, meaning there's
no
no
okay.
evidence
Sorry,
of
misunderstood.
racial profile.
Okay. Got it. Sorry.
Kind of,
Misunderstood
pretty
that.
substantial things that.
We have a motion to
Motion
accept
to
it?
approve.
Second.
Call the roll.
Yes.
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 Yes. L is a resolution awarding a contract agreement with Zoll Medical Corporation for the purchase of 3 defibrillator units.
Joan, I'm sorry, I don't want you reading all this. This is is it a pull or a postpone?
Postpone, thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Postpone.
I
Okay, sir.
motion to table this until March.
You need to do this? Any seconds? Okay, call the roll. Yes.
Yes.
Parker,
Clark, yes.
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 Okay, upgrade and general discussion on the comprehensive plan.
Thank you all. It's about to get real.
Next week, we're getting kind of work this together. There's no P and Z stuff on here tonight. So we didn't even see ya.
It's weird, isn't it?
But it is going to get exciting. So the work in earnest starts next week. I've sent you materials out in the package. A lot of different, a lot's happened. Websites developed. That's going to be the one that you have that I sent you the URL. Will be the primary portal for all things in and out. They created the virtual link so that those that can't attend the town hall meeting in person can do it from the comfort of their home and their jammies. We're going to start distributing these type documents utilizing QR codes with a quick connect. You've got a copy of all your advisory committee members and selections. Their contacts are all there. So just wanted you to kind of know the timeline. So February, it'll be the 22nd will be the advisory committee kickoff meeting. It'll be a big overview of their roles and responsibilities, kind of give them their timelines, some of their marching orders. That'll be at 3:30, just prior to the planning and zoning meeting. Obviously, you guys are all welcome to attend, and I would encourage you to do so. The following night, we'll have the town hall, will be the first big town hall event meeting. That will be at the theater, since between the whoopers and early voting, all of our municipal facilities were tied up, but the theater was available. It's a great venue for something like this too. So, like I said, that's where the community town hall will be.
What time is that?
6, you got the agenda there. I believe it's 6 to 8.
Quick question here.
Yeah.
So are these posted meetings?
We're treating all of these, although legally there's not the obligation to, we're treating them the same
Okay,
way.
to make
So
sure.
there's a notice.
Okay.
Fran, what do we put up for that? Isn't there something that we say there possibly might be a quorum?
Okay.
Right,
That's why I make
right.
sure that there's not an issue.
Right.
Just
More of a-
if you guys
So
are
that
all
way you
there,
can be-
please don't kind of congregate
Yeah.
together.
You're right out.
Stay apart.
Twosies, but avoid foursies.
And no whispering in a corner. That just doesn't look. And then, of course, there'll be a regroup, that the committee right now, we've tentatively had to pick a time scheduled it for evening on the 24th, which will be the advisory committee again to recap, kind of digest some of the comments, what they saw from the town hall, and that will kind of wrap up the February meetings, and then they'll start to schedule the meetings after that. So a lot will be happening. Please, for those that are participating, get lots of rest. For those that have nominated folks, make sure they get lots of rest and they have some energy drinks ready. It's going to be a lot of. This is a community advisory committee driven project. We're here to support and make copies, but like I said, it's the community's plan. So
Just out of curiosity, so all the members, have they responded in some way, shape, or form?
yes,
So I mean, we have.
Correct.
At least one. I think
Yeah,
they
the
are-
13 team.
yeah, the 13 members are intact.
Okay, I was
Yeah.
trying to make sure that we had
Yeah.
responses and there wasn't any issues that we need to deal with.
No, not to worry, not yet.
Well, no, I mean, I know there could be, but I mean, as of right now.
No, I think, as far as I know, they're all ready to go. The few that I've actually had contact with, all have responded. They've gotten the information.
The school and the chamber as stakeholders, and because of the commitments, both of the executives for those organizations, the superintendent of schools and then the director of the chamber, if they can attend, they may send somebody in their stead. Basketball playoffs are in full swing, so with a little less, the superintendent will be supporting the basketball playoffs. That's really it. Any questions? Like I said, if not, please visit the portal. Information will be there and kind of exciting.
Thank you.
Thanks. We got to thank the paper for doing a good job publicizing info.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. You ready to begin? Discuss and take possible action on Fort Street parking lot design and cost.
Hello, I'm an engineer at Urban Engineering, but I got with Dave and put all this stuff together. I work primarily on the FEMA stuff, but been working on this one. Some changes from last meeting. We've included some French drains. These are the same French drains that are at the boat ramp parking. If you look at page 3 on the exhibit, these are the actual construction photos of the French drains we put up. The new ones, if you guys have that. And they're pretty tough. I went and drove, I got a big truck and drove on them, and they're really solid. The contractors, they dumped a water truck on them just to see how it run off, and it never even made it to the drain and all.
How did they not do that? The drain is
Because it
not-
perks, it percolates through the pavers.
But the drain is not very high.
But the drain's only broke close.
I know what it's supposed to do. I'm looking at it. I don't know why it does. That's what I'm saying.
Well, because the filter, and eventually the water will go all the way down through the pavers, through the rocks, through the sand, and then down into the sand.
The drain is only like this high.
Yeah.
Above the rest of it, so.
So the pavers all have holes between all
Right.
the pavers. And we've got 3 layers of rock underneath the pavers, and then the French drain underneath that, so.
I understand all of that.
Okay,
Right,
okay.
the
I guess I don't
drain's only there
understand.
when there's like.
I'm worried about the drain not being high enough, that's all. Why, when you put the whole truck full of water on there, it didn't go down the drain.
It percolated through the pavers. It never got, so the water didn't run to the center to the metal. It was,
Eventually, in a big gully washer, you'll hit saturation, then it will go right to the drain.
So is that like a heavy rain?
Heavy.
I was surprised that it never made it to the drain. It took on a lot more water than I.
So about
Okay.
how much water was dumped?
I'll have to ask them. You know, I was talking to them on the phone and they said, "Whoa, this thing's taking on water like crazy."
Which is what, I mean, the idea is
That's a great
cars
idea.
come and park and they drip oil and water and the rest, the nasty stuff. And when a rainstorm hits, that stuff flashes off, and that's what you want to get down. After it's been raining for a day or two, those contaminants are already down in the rock. And then when it starts to flow directly into the drain, it's cleaner water. That's the premise.
Driving the truck on it once, it stands up, but do you have any long-term maintenance issues with this? Are we opening ourselves up to subsidence of it and repairs in the future versus traditional concrete?
So they do have like a lifespan. So the numbers I've read, this is kind of a standard design over in California, is 20 years, and I'm sure that's dependent on a lot of factors. As far as the pavers moving and stuff like that, there's quite a bit of rock underneath it, and we've compacted the subgrade below the rock. The first layer of rock gets compacted,
Is
it's
it
locked
road
together.
base underneath it, or is it?
No, it's in situ sand. It's
Same.
sand, but you've got 3 layers of rock that have been compacted each layer. So I think
Is it river rock or is it crushed concrete?
it's rock.
Well, you're basically building a homemade filter, so at
No,
some
I
point,
understand.
at some point, you're gonna get fines plugging it up, and you're gonna rip it apart, put your bricks out to the side, put your rocks out to the side, blast it all with some hose, maybe rechange your filter fabric, and put it all back together and get another.
So there is filter fabric.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's filter fabric below all the rock and then around the pipes so that they don't want chemicals contaminated.
when, that's why the rocks are concrete, because rocks, they were tough and drive over them. They have to maintain themselves within reason, but the crushed concrete, you drive over it, it starts to wear it down and crumble it.
Yeah,
So the 20 years is optimistic.
right, and I think you're gonna get, I mean,
What's the rock made?
it's pretty solid design as far as base and the paver's not moving, in my opinion.
And it's used a lot in other places.
In my research, I didn't design this,
Right.
but I did kind of, I was overseeing the construction over in the Marina parking lot, wherever it's in.
Mhm.
And it's a design I found in quite a few places.
Well, the concrete cap around the outside is going to keep the pavers from moving around. That's
Right,
the biggest thing. So
Right.
even if they're not level, they're not going to leave. Which really, that's the thing.
So we're,
So
looking at this for our,
Yes, ma'am.
and there also would be cuts like to the grass, to the plants and things like that as well.
So that's something I considered, and I wanted to ask you guys, so go back to the main page. We do have a little bit of drainage going kind of over the sidewalk, and we could do a vegetated filter strip. You would lose a couple of parking spots, but we could do some grass all along that sidewalk and have it flow over that grass.
Heads of the structure, not.
Correct, right, and I think we can drain most of it. I think you lose too many parking spots. I think I think we can drain most of the water to its French drains and just do a very small portion of the sidewalk. So I think you can better collect the contaminants through the French drains.
no, we're not going to drain all this water. Is this, I don't know, is that island, Rains Harbors, or is that the community?
Yeah, it's Rand, that's Aransas Harbors.
But we're not going to be adding a lot of water to Rains Harbors backside, or we're not going to create a.
No.
Everything drains work until they saturate.
No, well, I mean, the drains will still take on the water. You're not gonna have overflow over into the surrounding
But
properties.
those drains go out into the. Anyway,
Yeah, they're part of the existing drainage system. We do have to upsize the drainage going across the road.
we sure want to keep it clean.
Yes, ma'am.
It's going right in there.
Correct. So I know last time you had a question over the landscaping costs. One red yucca, for 5,000. Sorry, I should have written that more clear. For $5,000. It's a really good red yucca.
Must be a real rare one.
Yeah.
Gold plated yucca.
So they're actually 3 foot on center. So every 3 feet, there's a 1 gallon red yucca and hardwood mulch around it. So
Right,
so no maintenance of grass or anything like that, kind of low maintenance as far as upkeep. We do have this small kind of triangular section on the, I guess be on the south side of the page, southwest. It's kind of wondering what you guys might want to do with that. So it's a small triangle. There's,
What, 4 parking spaces?
yeah, 4 parking spaces point right into it. You see that little triangular piece?
I'd say almost just cut it out.
Well, it's part of the property, so,
But I mean,
pave it, just leave it.
This piece, that little
Plants in there.
Is it the farthest?
Oh, yeah,
Top
yeah,
north?
yeah.
Is it top
It's
north of that corner?
southwest. This piece
That
right
little
here.
funny
Yeah.
piece,
Yeah.
and is that hard to park in there?
Well, could we turn that into like, and again, this is, we're getting something, could it be like, well, I usually do the park space, make that some type of like boat trailer parking or something? But I
A
guess
bicycle or?
I don't think, you can do a bicycle. That might be a.
Yeah.
So I know we talked about this might be a place for buses to come pick people up for sand fest and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
bicycle parking, storage. Right now it's just kind of natural sand. I didn't
How would the
design.
bus get over there?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, it would be a bus stop, but how the bus can get over there?
I would say not, they're not.
Okay, well, that's kind of the thing.
You could park your bike back there and walk to the drive. I did include another entrance on this design from the last time. So on Port Street, you've got 2 entrances.
I think I definitely agree with that.
Any other design elements? I put a lot of consideration into this. I think I've got a pretty good design, and I'm open to any kind of suggestions that you guys might have.
So cost wise, we went from the old crushed concrete version, 355.
I've got some calls, I'm gonna start out here. I've got some calls, people have said kind of like maybe it might have been conveyed, maybe it wasn't, but, a lot of people think that this is a waste, and that people aren't gonna park the cars there. And so I'm like torn. I'm like, if you just build a crushed concrete pad, you're probably right. No one will park their car there.
Well, I mean, I think that's why we wanted them to get these other.
That's one thing, but I think the deal is if we build a nice one, and the nice one being we go concrete, I think probably people will park there. But we're gonna look like a bigger fool if we go with the big one and then, 6 months from now, they're like, I told you no one parked there and y'all are fools kind of thing, So I just, I don't know, I'm mixed on this. It's like, I don't think we should do asphalt. I'll throw that out. You either go concrete or you go crushed concrete or whatever, crushed stone. Either you go inexpensive or you go all in, because I just think that no one's gonna park on crushed concrete or stone, but people might park on the thing. If nothing else, it can be used for parking for the civic center when they have the dance here or whatever.
Dale's here, and we were doing it, trying to work together with a short-term rental management company.
Because
That
we
was one
really
of
have
the biggest
no
complaints.
city parking.
Well, I mean, there's a harbor, but yeah, I mean, I agree.
But I mean, like, where that's not, this is truly dedicated parking, not something that is.
And lots of towns have those.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And I mean.
Well, I agree. I'm not saying, I just people, I've got a couple calls who saying that, y'all are crazy for spending all this money on a parking lot that no one's gonna use.
Well,
And I don't necessarily agree with that. I agree that if you make a nice one, people probably will use it, but I'm made to look like a fool if they're right and we spend $1 million or $750,000 building a really nice parking lot and, you see a bunch of boats there, old derelict boats and abandoned cars.
I mean, that's always a possibility. I mean, I'm not gonna, lie, that's always a possibility, but I mean, I think part of it is signage, limiting.
And talking the short-term rental.
Yeah. Lighting, I mean, this is gonna have lighting,
Yeah, I've got lights.
So-
So as somebody who's come to Port Aransas my whole life, I'm usually meeting somebody else here. So it's right by the ferry.
No, I mean, I agree. And if nothing else, it's great for, golf cart rental places. Yeah, there's a place where they can leave their excess car and go drive around the golf cart.
I'm usually meeting somebody or a group of people that have their own cars and we're all staying at the same place and there's not enough parking at that place. So this is a really good kind of overflow parking for that.
That's what we thought it would
Make
be.
a bench in a covered place for people to wait. Great.
Yeah.
Dale,
we
do
can
you
definitely
think
do
it'll
that.
help you? Yeah.
I mean, that was the consensus.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we came out, that's why this came out of our STR meetings.
A workshop.
That is a request from,
Short-term rental people.
short-term, because, if there's a house that doesn't have enough parking, there's
What
no,
are we supposed to do?
yeah, what is it to do?
What's the action on this?
Oh, yeah, I mean, the action is,
I don't see any proof or anything.
discussion and take possible action.
So I'd like to,
We just approve the bricks.
So-
Well, no, you would approve which concept you want.
Yeah.
There will be like a bench with covered seating and
So-
some.
I don't have that design, but that's not hard to.
I think we could add that.
That's very easy to add.
for that one corner,
Ubers or. Yeah.
So, as far as, maybe I can get some more ideas from Dave later or from you guys, or where would you guys like to see the bench? Probably.
I
towards the
think
end.
in that first, in that big, well, in the closest to the sidewalk, that curb area,
Yeah.
I think we could come up with something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be useful and then, be a pickup place or like you're saying.
Mhm.
so
And I'm all for it whereas this, what's the name of
the French drain, whatever it's called.
We're calling it French drain.
I got a quick question, and again, maybe this might be ordinance, but is there a reason not to put a third entrance right next to the east entrance there? So you have like, and I guess just use it.
I think it gets too busy.
Well, I just think that you're gonna have it with the two entrances, and especially with the one that's way off in the boonies. All right, I'm going to go, think my page moved here. Okay, but I don't know if you can see it here. So this is a proposed entrance right
Yeah.
here. And what about a proposed entrance right here? Otherwise, you're gonna have to come in over here, or here, go all the way around, and then come back around here. It just seems like that's just almost a no-brainer to add an extra a little apron right there. You see that?
Yeah.
Right here.
It
It
just
seems like
gets, yeah.
It's coming off this road.
So what would be
You're
the,
coming straight
so
out.
here's the question, the entrance that's the north, I guess.
Sure, north corner.
Move it up one. So it's not, so it's moving to the right one space.
That big open area, the larger,
Yeah.
I guess, open area.
I don't know why you do it. It's not that.
Well, I think if you want parking in space right here, you have the handicap, you have to drive here all the way around there. And down.
All right, so
I would
I'd
add,
like to make-
I would add some signage too, just I don't work with Chamber of Commerce or something, and we're working on wayfinding.
Yeah.
3-day parking or something like that.
We gotta have
Yeah,
something
we'll
that-
come up with the signs.
But it'd be nice to have a little local
Yeah.
quarter answers or, you know.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve the one with the French drains, or the plan with the French drains, plus the additional waiting area.
Parking, yeah,
So do we want to see approval of something?
Well, that's the
I think they all-
proposal with concrete in the drain system, right? That's the first one?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's the first one in the packet.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Okay, all the roll.
Councilmember Clark. Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger.
Oh, yes.
Councilmember Mott.
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Councilmember Seagull.
Yes.
Chairperson Holt.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And I'd just like to add that this money, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, is coming from
Yeah,
non-tax funds.
yeah, correct.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Make it a big thing.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming there's gonna be, we can add to it as.
Thank you.
Yeah,
This is a step in the right direction.
Thank you
I'm
guys.
glad you went so far.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, staff report? No.
No.
No, item O.
Discuss and take action to appoint members to the Airport Advisory Board. And we have two, James Ratley and Bruce Weaver in the packet, and then we just got another application. Chris Shank.
Right, so there's three, is there three?
There's three, and we have two openings, is that right?
Right, and then I think we have a couple coming up. So we got Mark Creighton is coming up in July.
Are we gonna wait till July or you?
No, then you have the open, seat 2 is open. Seat 3 is 2023, then seat 4 is open. And then seat 5 comes up in July. So we're filling seats 2 and 4. Yeah. Oh, he's not.
Who is it?
Weepert, Mr. Weepert is not a,
Now, is this,
oh, Mr. it-
Confirmed, yeah.
okay,
Oh, so Bruce Weepert, not a qualified voter?
I thought.
Oh, do not, voter registration, do not have number yet, but he says he is. He's not official.
Well, maybe he's working on it.
Now, isn't the airport board the one board? I'll say, isn't the airport board the one that allows non-residents to be? to serve
Only
on-
one.
And that is occupied by,
Delaney. Yeah, he's Delaney is the out of town
Okay. Well,
member.
that makes it easy then.
Yeah.
I'll nominate, James Ratley, is that correct? He's not qualified? And then, Chris Shanklin.
A second?
Jones got it.
I'd like to say,
Yeah, you got the second.
thank you. Call the roll.
Councilmember Seagull.
Yes.
Councilmember Krueger.
Yes.
Councilmember Clark.
Yes.
Councilmember Mott.
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Chairperson Holt.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, we have now staff reports. Darla, I think you're first.
Sorry, yeah, this up early on a Thursday night in years.
I know, we may actually get home, it's still daylight outside.
No, I need to be here.
Speak into your face. Okay, thank you.
So you have your written report in the packet. Just to go over a couple of the economic indicators, the hotel rental tax for the month of December rentals, which we collect in January, was up 63% for the month. So that caught us up from the prior month where we were down to where we're almost level with where we were the first 4 months of the year last year. We're down a little under 0.5%. And the sales tax for the same corresponding month was at 32% for the month of December.
So
So for the first 4 months, we're up about 18%.
So you think discrepancy was just like a reporting error or just,
No, not reporting error.
well, not reporting error.
Timing.
For timing of when people filed possibly, and then we didn't do complete non-assessment.
No, I was just curious because it seemed like everybody's like, oh yeah, down, but now it seems like we've,
Now we're back up.
we're back up, so.
We're back up. It could be weather, I'm not sure. But that is a report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Good job.
Yeah.
But it's keep us in the black.
Thank you.
Appreciate all the reports.
Okay,
Makes
Scott.
it fun to
Rose.
look at.
Police report. Looks like a bad bunch of people in here.
Just because I'm old and I'll forget if I don't do this at the top of the
Yeah.
report here. We have our annual awards banquet tomorrow night from 6 to 9. The city has a table. And y'all can buy tickets at the door if you'd like.
Well, they have a free seat. What's for dinner?
Lasagna from Jay's.
All right, there you go. If you guys want dinner, come on by.
You're starting to see an increase in some of the activity numbers, and that's because we've been adding some additional officers, so we're seeing a lot more self-initiated activity than compared to the last few years of those additional officers on board.
Where we at staffing wise?
We're still down 4 right now. I had 2 that we had job offers to that both went into housing issues. One's building a house in North Padre, it's supposed to be in May, and he's not gonna be there in September now. And I have one from out of state that put his house on the market, they did an inspection on the house. Found significant structural damage, and he can't put it back on the market.
So the one that's building in Padre, is it sold for perspective or later on? Or?
Yeah, we're not holding a slot for him.
But I mean.
Yeah.
But if there's still slots open.
Yeah, if there's still slots open, we'll slide it in, so. You start seeing an increase in the DWIRS, will probably be one of the more significant increases. We have a new officer that focuses a lot of our time on those types of offenses. I'm gonna give a shout out to, it's not on this report. We have an officer going through the field training program right now, who's a DPS trooper. We stashed from DPS. And he effected a traffic stop, or him and his training officer effected a traffic stop a couple of weeks ago on a car leaving the game room over there by Snappy's. They recovered some significant money. We were able to get a search warrant and shut down an illegal gambling operation going on at that location. So good police work on that. Our significant events, the good one is our community outreach with the elementary school. And we are focusing, Scott expressed some concerns about golf cart enforcement in particular, enforcement on the highway. We do use overtime money from May to September. You saw our numbers last summer, we have those extra officers on the highway. Right now, we're focusing primarily on 361, the speeding. 30 speeding citations last month. If you drive back and forth between Corpus, you will notice the traffic has slowed significantly on 361 from those extra.
Yeah. And the golf cart thing is gonna be probably a serious issue during spring break. But
Any questions on anything?
Yep, that's good work. Keep you back out of the bay.
thanks. Thank you. Okay, EMS report, Daniel.
Okay, so we've got a pretty busy tick there, 93 calls in January. That's up 42% over January.
You
conversation, and it seems like we're having a lot. During this time, all of our winter trucks and football.
Maybe we have more winter Texans this year than we did last year.
And then I noticed even in this month, that will be on next month's report, but our mutual aid calls, I think Tri-County, their call volume's up like 150%. So I mean, we've been backing them up. We're made 3 trips today. So it's just been 30 total transport calls. Let's see, like I said, the call volume has been increased. The hospitals are still crazy. It seems like the wait times are so long. We're trying to utilize some of the smaller ERs instead of going to the bigger ER whenever it's unnecessary, so that way we can get our guys in and out and not stuck in hallways. Spring break's around the corner. We've all started all our preparation, and all the staff's already been briefed on everything. Here, the EMS conference is in May that we put on, so we started all of our preparation for that, and we got all our speakers lined up, and we started all our registration. Our vendor spots have all filled up, and our registration building is probably one of our bigger.
And it's done here.
It's done here. Yeah, y'all, we're welcome to come by. Send all that information. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Protocol.
Say, just speaking of that, have y'all done any idea or any interest in doing like EMS training outreach?
Yes.
So get more local people trained in EMS or EMTs, whatever you want to call it.
Not necessarily to train more local people, but we're gonna do some more local, like health fair type of days. So we're kind of in the design mode of it right now. Our goal is quarterly to go into it, maybe use the civic center and then just leave it open to the public. And try to correlate with the school nurse and the Dr. Russell's office and everything. So make it to 12 hours. See if we can accomplish that. If not, then it'll just be EMS there. And sure, it'll be file checks. So that's one thing that's going on. School trainings, that we're going to be doing that. School training there for their CPR and speaking to all the students and hopefully getting them more interested in the EMS side of things.
So that brings up a question. So you throwing CPR for the kids. Do you have any upcoming ones for adults?
We can always do it if anybody.
I was just curious if there's something.
We're gonna try to utilize that with that quarterly. We'll do a sign up pretty much probably for the next quarter. If you're not wanting a card carrying certification, then we can go over everything, do CPR. But if you want the actual certificate, then we'll have to go through more of a class.
I was just curious.
That'll be more in detail. But yeah, so we're gonna be doing that with the PD soon and get everybody up to standards, and then we're going through and doing a complete overhaul of our AEDs throughout the city.
This is going back to the chief. So are all your guys trained in CPR? CPR. Okay.
I think they're required.
I don't know. That's why.
We keep them updated, and that's what we're about to put on the class right now. Correlation James on that. It should be for too long to be doing that class. Other than that, any questions? The drug shortages, it's been with all kinds of different drugs. So we're just having to substitute. If we use the toprol, and then we're using Cinepril, just whatever they have. There's drug shortages everywhere. We had that problem with our IV fluids. Luckily, our IV flushes. I mean, there's a lot of different shortages. Yeah.
But you're able to find appropriate substitutions.
Yes. So far we've been able to do everything. We just do the substitution on the medical director sign off on it.
Thank you very much.
Good work.
And fire?
Fire, we got, fire report came in from Vinton and Adam. Fire calls in January, 11 calls compared to 8 in 21 for January and 4 in 2020, so down a little bit there. Major equipment on order, bunker gear, new fire engine, spring of 22, so it's coming.
Is that pretty accurate?
Yes, yeah. Major equipment delivered, air pack cylinders, new hose for new engine, bunker gear, and brush fire boots. Major equipment to be modified. They're making modifications to brush 1, which is now at Metro Fire. They do most all of our fire equipment lately. Replacing an old water tank with a larger capacity tank. 2 improvements that I've been working with Adam on. They're working at coming up with an idea to combat freezing in the winter. Last winter we had the big freeze. This winter we've had a couple, 2 small ones, not nearly as bad because they just were kind of came and went pretty quick. But we are looking at some heating solutions for the tents because we might be in there another winter or 2. And then also a 60 by 30 concrete wash pad.
I've got some
Spotting that.
questions.
Yeah, yeah.
So, why, at least for the temp, since this is, why spend all this money on a pad? Can we get the water turned on down at the old Palmia building? Because there's a huge concrete parking lot down there where they can do the washing right now. It would solve the issue. Then a caveat to that is we look at building a wash station that everyone, that all city vehicles will be washed at.
That's a great idea.
Because I think we could increase the life of all of our vehicles, police, everyone, if they have like a drive-through, where they drive through, at least rinse off or spray from underneath, spray down from the top, that all, all city vehicles could go through. Even a big one for the fire trucks / graders and front end loaders.
I think that's a great idea.
I mean, so we have a temporary solution where they would wash down at the old Palmia building. There is plenty of concrete there. I guess we just get the water turned on, Dave?
Yes.
I mean, so is that something that?
Well, I guess the question, do we need to build something or can we just buy some high pressure washers? And I mean, if the building is not worth anything.
No, so what I'm saying is they just need a place just right now that they can go down and wash the trucks off.
Right.
With a hose.
Yeah.
But my suggestion is to eventually build a drive-through, like where Mrs. Woody's, where the slide is now, they had that drive-through. There'd be a big one for big equipment and then one for smaller, like pickup trucks, police vehicles, where they could just drive through to rinse everything off, get the salt off, so hopefully maybe gain a year.
I'll get more than that, but absolutely. I understand where you're coming from. I'm just saying, instead of building a thing, I guess just.
No, so we wouldn't build anything down there, Palmia. This would just be a place for them to get the water turned on. They have a hose and maybe,
I know that's one thing they used to do, volunteers used to wash fire trucks, and I do know that the city works had a spray area outside. They used to hose off that to keep them off the beach.
We could possibly look at a couple other close locations over on the new property. Oh, I didn't put it up there.
but for now,
Maybe where the old water district building was, there's some concrete over there. I'm not sure if they have access to.
but that's a request. That way we don't have to build a pad.
Yeah.
Right now, and then we can put something on the next agenda for looking at a wash facility for the city.
Yeah, the problem with the concrete, they're out of there in 2 years and then there's giant concrete slide.
Right, that's why I don't want to build it over there. I want to build something maybe at Ross down at the transfer station. But that's gonna be something for the next meeting. So I think that's the better option is just get the water turned on temporarily down at the Palmia building, since that's our property. Fire guys can go down, get the trucks out, they go down there, wash it. Yes, it's not as convenient, but it saves us a lot of money.
I agree.
So that's just my thoughts.
It's closer, obviously a good spot to stick them in during the freezes or whatever.
Is there plenty of room to wash the hoses over there?
Oh, yeah, there's lots of.
It's a big.
I mean, they could run out in the asphalt if they had to.
It's
Where, let me look at it. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah. It's huge.
Um,
I mean,
It's a big, it's with that green metal building.
see all that, look at all that space there.
Yeah, so it's, let's see, feet wise, it's it's almost a football field.
Yeah, they're only looking at that, so,
I think that's all pavement, isn't it?
yeah, it's all concrete.
It's concrete or asphalt.
It's concrete,
Is it okay?
I think.
It looks like asphalt. I don't think so.
But it's a hard surface.
Yeah, the aprons look concrete, the thing looks asphalt.
It
Oh,
looks
it is-
like.
yeah, it is asphalt.
It doesn't matter, it's still.
But it's a
still
hard
fine.
surface that they can wash.
Yeah, absolutely.
So David.
Yeah, I'll work with Adam and.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Team.
Okay, thank you.
We have to go back to the election.
No, because
We're good.
when, in the consent agenda, Bruce only pulled
Oh,
B and C. Didn't he leave
Yes.
D?
Everything else is left in.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we approved all.
So it got
Okay.
approved in the consent. Yeah. Yeah, D and D was approved.
Okay, that's it. City council comments and items for future consideration.
The only thing I had was, I just talked about that they begin the process of possible, a wash down area that would accommodate.
It makes sense. I agree with you. It's kind of foolish to think, I was gonna say, by the time they built that parking lot we built, they could go there and wash hose over there too.
We're going to also, Dave, talk to you and like, you about bringing in Ken Paxton in the city council.
Yeah, Tuesday, we'll set that agenda for tomorrow,
Just to make certain, this is not an endorsement of Ken in any
Right.
way. This is simply an opportunity for city council to express some of the concerns to Attorney General.
Right.
And if
Keep
it's
it-
an open meeting, I think we can't constrict what people ask per se. Can we?
I think it's up to the board to determine, well, you guys, to determine what level of citizen input you want. I mean,
We have him for an hour.
yeah.
I think it'd be best not.
I mean, if it's like a kind of a workshop, I don't think. I mean, we did a workshop today. Did we have citizen comments?
Yeah, we did. But no one, yeah. it was
Oh, we
only-
did, yeah. Yeah, there was, but no one
Well, there was
signed
one
up.
person.
Let me work with Fran on that
Right,
tomorrow.
I think so.
Thank you.
Can be done legally and clearly.
Yeah, we only have an hour. The point is to get to the 5 topics, not not have a Q&A.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the key things to focus on, it's not a legislator, this is obviously Attorney General, but some of the key that impact citizens here, RV recovery. You mentioned there, put them on the message board, several other topics, so if there is other that you want to cover.
I wanted to cover
Legislation.
because he did some.
Did I have that on there?
You
Or did
did
you
talk
add it?
about legislation impacting municipalities.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's a cover-all, so it'll.
yeah, because he. a little bit of
Okay.
opinion on that.
Okay.
2 to 3 on Tuesday, the 22nd.
22 at 2.
It's my birthday.
Okay, happy birthday.
Weird.
And he is limited to just 1 hour, isn't he?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Meeting is adjourned.
Hey, before 7 o'clock.
It's a record.
Certainly is a record.
It's a record for us.
It's a post-Harvey record.
Hey, I'll take it.
Everybody stay warm tonight.
Is it really? It's getting cold again?
Yeah.
And I hope everyone enjoyed your new chair.
Yeah, I almost fell asleep.